Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Let's see who was here first. B. Martin, thank you so much for being here first. And hello to you, Love Wins Movement. Big hello to all the amazing Royal Sussex squaddies here tonight. All kind of wishes and to feel better. Yes, and see what else. So much. I feel like this dreaded flu. Oh my goodness, you had the flu or have the flu. Wow. Sorry to hear that. You know, I have been pretty good about that since the start of the global pandemic. Of course, I'm still wearing my mask and I wash my hands every time I come in the house. And I'm very good about not touching my face when I'm out. At least I try not to. But yeah, there are certain things that I think, certain protocols that we learned during the global pandemic that is still helpful today. But you know what? You can do all of those things and still find yourself in trouble. So, I mean, yeah, it's been around for a long time, various flus and stuff. But oh, I don't ever want to be sick like that again. I hate when my sinuses and mucous membranes are all under attack. Ooh, I hate that. So I hope you feel better. And I'm sorry that you're in this situation. Let's see. Hello, Brenda Crane, Stevie Rose, and let's see, R. Erickson, Lydia Washington, Lorna Williams, Gwendolyn Daniels, Kim Peaches, Dan Speed, One, Helen, and a host of friends and others. Okay, let's get on with it, shall we? Okay, and voila, there are the slides. Cool. I tell you, that looks like one of those Harlequin romance novels, doesn't it? That looks like a Harlequin romance. Of course, that is AI generated, but yeah, it kind of reminds me of one of those Harlequin romance novel covers or whatever. But anyway, let's see. Let's see. Paulette Claw, thank you so much for being here. Oh, yes, and VS is here, one of our moderators, not to mention a fellow content creator. Let me put that at the top so you guys know where to like, share, and subscribe. Okay. All right, very good. Let me get back over here. There we go. Thank you very much, Lydia Washington. So anyway, leave Prince Harry alone. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I have been avoiding this topic for a while. I think this is only the second time that I'm talking about it. The right-wing think tank. Yeah, the right. Look, oh, that was a Freudian slip. The right not the white, but the right wing think tank, but it's also that. But they know who they are. The big giant head, but which one? Because there's two of them. Anyway, Duchess Meghan, Japanese dinner. And of course, there's more news. Elaine Parker, thank you so much for the super sticker and thank you for being here tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, learning to like you, hoping that you like me. Okay. And check it out. So, a conservative group is trying to get Prince Harry drug related immigration record released. Mm. Oh, oh. Why can't we all just get along? What is the point of this? Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered. Asked and answered. Why are we even bothering with this? Um, just like Scamantha is one of those things that just grates on my nerves, and I have been avoiding it. But I suppose that at some point we have to revisit it. So tonight seems like as good a night as any. So where that is concerned, Prince Harry memoir is not proof he took drugs and could have been embellished to sell books, a lawyer for the Biden administration argued on Friday. It came after a D.C. court began hearing a case on whether to compel the U.S. government to release Duke of Sussex visa application stemming from revelations about his illegal drug use. The Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, has for months been challenging the Department for Homeland Security, the DHS, arguing the documents should be made public as a result of confessions he made in his best-selling memoir, Spare. Again, Harry's memoir is not proof that he took drugs. It's not a testimony. He wasn't testifying. He wasn't under oath. They contend the Duke's past drug use should have disqualified him from entering the United States under federal law that releasing his application is of immense public interest. Really, to whom and for what? John Bardo, a lawyer for the Department of Homeland Security, told the court that the book isn't sworn testimony or proof that the Duke of Sussex did in fact take drugs. Saying something in the book doesn't necessarily make it true, he said. So, there you go. So why are we still here? Because of that conservative think tank. Because Harry decided that he wanted to marry the woman he loved, who just happens to be a woman of color, biracial, African American woman, whatever you want to call it, call her. That's the way it is. And so because of that, he finds himself in a spot of bother with these awful, hateful, malicious, cruel, mean-spirited people who have nothing better to do. Now, unfortunately, two of the main figures in that think tank happens to be Camilla Tominey and Niall Gardiner. Not Gardner, but Gardiner. He throws an I in there to feel more important. After Sussex Oceania tour, Meghan Made Kate Cry was published by Tominey on November 26th. On November 23rd, she wrote an article linking Hub Kitchen to terrorists. And on November the 30th, Carol Middleton gave her first ever interview calling herself a hurricane after Meghan was called that. So, if you all remember, if you all remember, after the Oceania tour, when Harry was very concerned, he was delighted and alarmed at the same time because he knew what was coming. Harry knew that because of Meghan's shine, because of the successful tour, because she proved to the world that being a royal princess is nothing of a gift or it's nothing that is established. You can just walk in the door as a self confident, uh, educated woman and easily do the job. Unfortunately, the last time there was a big royal wedding, the one that married into the family, was none of those things. The one before Meghan was lacking in so many departments that Meghan made her look bad. As a matter of fact, Harry, who had kind of gone under the radar, um, only made his brother look worse because people didn't really notice Harry so much before Meghan came along, or at least they didn't notice him in the same way. He was still the most popular royal, even over the Queen. But once Meghan came along, that was when you heard things like superstars, right? That was when the shine really took on the life of its own. And that troubled some people. And so, as you can see, it was all hands on deck. They mobilized, they circled the wagons around Kensington Palace to make sure that they could elevate the stature of two of the most insignificant, mediocre, narrow minded, addle brained, lazy individuals. And I'm talking about Will and Kate, two of the just inconsequential people that you could ever meet. They say nothing memorable. They do nothing to impress. And as they do nothing and say nothing, as far as I'm concerned, they are nothing. But that is where the problem comes from because what Harry and Meghan do just casually would take all the king's horses and all the king's men, and you still couldn't make Will and Kate look good again because it's just not possible. And the people who have to suffer from it the worst is Harry and Meghan. Because they're gifted, because they're just naturally born talented people, they're being punished. Punished so much so they had to leave the country. They drove them out of the country. And one of the people who helped to do that is on that think tank, Camilla. Can you believe her head is that large? Tomini. Now, I don't know who did this cartoon illustration of Camilla Tomini, but trust me when I say this, they really got her number. I mean, at a glance, this is what I see. So, obviously, the illustrator who created this, I don't know if there's a Pulitzer Prize for illustration, but I think whoever created this really captured the mood. And there's my example of capturing that situation. Camilla Tomini, I think it's something about big head people. They're angry because they got big heads, right? They're just angry. Their heads are too large. They have to turn there and tilt their head sideways in automobiles or to cross between a threshold. And so they're just angry people. And someone told me today, I didn't know this, but Easter Island is sinking. Well, no wonder it's sinking. It's got those big giant heads on it. So I tell you, if they ever take that relic on the left back to Easter Island, it will just disappear into the Pacific. Now, there is an example of a fugitive from Easter Island, if I've ever seen one. There is more surface space between the hairline and the chin a very curious amount of surface space. If that was a solar panel, do you know that the cost of electricity for most people in the United Kingdom would drop? Yeah, if that was a solar panel, it would create a surplus and pump more electricity back into the grid than it could ever take out of it. Massive, intrusive, massive, intrusive, nosy, um, crap stirring. I'm just so sick of these people. Do you hear me? Sick! I'm just sick of them. They always messing around with stuff ain't got nothing to do with them. Harry blasts British media in memoir spare. He should. They're awful people. Awful, terrible people. And then just when you thought that that massive cranium wasn't drawing enough attention, somebody goes and shops at the Iowa 80 truck stop. Somebody went and shopped at the Iowa 80 truck stop. And look at what they came up with. That's something you could only find like on a roadside. The outfit, that is. Um, and yes, Lydia, I'm going to say it. I kind of feel like she looked like she worked in one of them houses. You know, one of them houses. That's what that outfit reminds me of. One of them houses. Um, and got the nerves to think she cute. She just thinks she's causing it. You know what I'm saying? She just thinks she's causing it. But that is a terrible, terrible, terrible person. Um, this is the one. Remember when they said that they were threatened by the Post? Someone had sent them something threatening. No, it was an email. I think they said they got a threatening email. But that alleged thing that she received, it almost, well, according to some of the people in the Sussex squad, it seemed like she sent it to herself. I'm not saying she did, but it's been alleged that for attention, she sent it to herself. Isn't that something? You're so inconsequential, you're safe. You're so small, you're safe. Nobody's after her. I promise you, nobody. Nobody cares enough. Leg says, you see the right there, that tip to it. Uh-huh. Kind of reminds me of one of those Yetis, right? That's the other thing. It's got that little Yeti knee dip. Know how those Yetis are. Yeah, they're a species and a breed unto themselves. Some people say they're not of this earth. Yep. That's right, Lady T. You got it. You got it. There are bargains to be found there. Absolutely. I don't know why that reminds me. What was that movie with Dolly Parton? Lord have mercy on my soul. Something da 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 da. Lord have mercy. Yeah, it was something about some house in some state near the border of or some state on the border of Mexico. They had a certain kind of house on in a state that borders with Mexico. Yeah, I think Dolly Parton was in that movie. Anyway, that's what it reminds me of. Yes, Carmen, yes. That's what it reminds me of. Um mm, no, actually somebody like that don't keep them hours. Carmen got it right the first time. Anyway, I am going to leave this Amazon clearance fashion show and move on. B. Martim, how's your head look bigger than? Yes, how is it her head is looking bigger than the miniskirt? You see what I mean? Massive, massive. And honestly, honestly, can we talk here? It seems like the person holding the camera is down kind of low. And so if the person is looks like the camera is probably at the height of her waistline, shouldn't everything lower be larger than everything at the top? But yet somehow her head still looks bigger than the skirt. That is, what, B. Martin, you got it. I just noticed that just now. I just makes me ill. I just cannot stand this individual. So right there, Heritage Event Live. They actually had a live thing on live stream one day. The Crown Under Fire. Why the left's campaign to cancel the monarchy and undermine a cornerstone of Western democracy will fail. Cornerstone of Western democracy? You mean to tell me the crown that went on Charles' head that actually led to some law being passed in the 11th hour that got people arrested on Coronation Day just because they looked like they were going to be trouble, right? That law that gives the Met Police the opportunity to detain someone on a hunch, that Western democracy? I think the threat to that democracy is coming from within the democracy, not on the outside of it. So, this is what I've been saying for a while, you guys. Unfortunately, our faves, Harry and Meghan, have been caught up in this culture war. And on the far extreme right wing of that culture war, you find the likes of Camilla Tominey. You find the likes of that Neil Gardner who used to work for the Thatcher administration. You find people like that. If it's black or brown or red or yellow or whatever, if it's not someone white and European or someone who says and does what white people want you to hear, then you're a threat to humanity. The only thing is, none of those people you see on the left side of the screen have any humanity to threaten. There's nothing humane about them. They are evil. They're beasts. They are horrible people. They would do anything to make sure that they preserve the future for people just like themselves. They want to reproduce, God help us, and they want to make sure that nothing ever comes between the halls of power and the people that they represent and where they come from. They don't want to share anything. They want to keep everything like it's the 1950s. Yeah, when they say take this country back, they mean the 1950s. That means to the exclusion of Black people. So Meghan Markle Meghan Markle Oprah interview, an insult to the Queen and the British people. Yeah, that was an insult to the Queen and the British people, according to the think tank. An insult to the Queen and the British people. Do go on. But the fact that there was constant leaking and briefing from Kensington Palace, from Clarence House or Buckingham Palace, none of that means anything. The Sussexes ran for their lives. They literally ran for their lives. They were doing everything they could to destroy them. And they wouldn't have been satisfied until our Duchess began to look like this. That's what they wanted for Meghan. They wanted her to be so uncomfortable in her own skin, to be so small, to lose her voice. They were trying to take her voice away from her. The last time they took someone that had any, like, well, I can't say that they ever had much personality, but it's either this or this. Either they look like they can throw daggers from their eyes, or they can't stop laughing. There is no in between. And other than that, you don't ever see them with friends or anything, because that is someone who has been made over in their own image. And in this case, William's image. That's why William married her. He wanted someone who was not going to be a whole and complete person. And so, with this culture war, that is why they won't leave Harry alone. That is why they won't leave him alone. Anything that represents, like remember when Harry said that during the pandemic, people were assessing whether or not they wanted to go back to their old jobs, right? But he wasn't the only one who was saying it. Everybody was talking about that. But the problem is, they know that Harry has a powerful voice. They know that Meghan has a powerful voice, and they're trying to suppress them, to create doubt and apathy and anger toward them, so you won't listen to anything that they say. And this just goes to show you how relevant, how powerful the Sussexes are. Global leaders. They are global leaders. If they were not, they wouldn't bother. The thing is, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. You guys, don't worry about this. Do not worry. Let not your heart be weary, because this is merely an exercise of futility. It is designed to frustrate. They're trying to wear people's feelings to the point where they turn against the Sussexes. But this is just fundraising for Republicans. That's all it is. I suppose the Tories, whatever they get out of it, but that's all it is. Why would Camilla Tominey, who is a reporter from Britain, and this Neil Gardner, who's also from Britain, why would you do what is he from Britain? And I can't remember. Anyway, why would you do everything that you can to disrupt someone else's life? Someone who has just become a father in the last few years. But it means everything to them, because the American people need to know blah, blah, blah. Why do we need to know that? If we don't know about everybody else's, if none of the other applications have been put forth for the public, what is the point of this one? But under the legal system, people have a right to do things like this, no matter how awful it seems. I'm sorry, they have a right to engage. It's under the law, they have the right to make trouble. And bringing a lawsuit is the fast track to create a lot of trouble for someone that you've never met, that you don't know, or that you just deep in your core have hateful feelings toward them. So they're abusing the law. They are abusing the law, but I say don't worry about it. As they said, let's see, where is it? Right here. It could have been embellished. He was not under sworn testimony. Harry, and I'm going to tell you something, you guys. Harry said in the very start of the book, he said that some of his recollections, he said he could remember events and places clearly, but there's certain things that it's like when you're a child and you're emotionally scarred, there's some things that you just can't remember. It's like your mind shuts it off. So certain things he has like almost a photographic memory. Like he said in the book, I can, how when you go to let's say on vacation, and you can just close your eyes, and in your mind's eye you can walk down the street, you can see little details, things that were so impressive that it's just etched in your memory. But as for, say, other situations or such, you don't have much recollection of it. Like I went to the, oh gosh, what is that place? That Vanderbilt mansion, Biltmore. And for the first time in my life, I saw something called a linen fold uh, detail carved into the door. And I just thought it was the most clever thing. It's called a linen fold. And I can never forget it because I just thought it was, wow, this is really cool. I can remember that very clearly. But some things from a couple of days ago, I would struggle to remember. So that's all. And I think that's most people. I think that's most people. So there you go. Harry said that not everything he's so clear about, like the dates and the times and the this and the that. So let's say he said he experimented with drugs at age 17. Well, what if it was 16? What if it wasn't at all? So he kind of have a little bit of a defense built into it, right? Lawyers vetted this book before it went out. Some very good lawyers vetted his book. So, um, still, when you have money, when you have access, it's just too easy to make trouble for another person. And that's exactly what this think tank is doing. They have people that will listen to them. They're rich, they're white, they're privileged. They have people that'll listen to them. So it's um, it's just the way it is. Anyway, but I say don't worry about it. Um, and then of course, where is it at here? Like here's one of Camilla's Tominy's thing. The more Meghan speaks, the less anyone wants to listen. Her new Spotify podcast, Archetypes, epitomizes the law of diminishing returns. This is someone who I'm sure, I believe, in my opinion, just hates Meghan. She just hates her. And she thinks of everything that she can ever think of to make trouble for her. And so one day she just sat at her keyboard and rattled that out, only for Meghan's archetype to go on and win the People's Choice Award, right? Only for Meghan to displace Joe Rogan as the number one uh, podcast in the world. Number one. Meghan knocked him off his throne. And if you look at the date, August 27th, that came out at the very beginning of the podcast, just enough to create doubt against Meghan's ability or talent. So it wasn't that she knew it was true. She just needed to say something negative to try to wear down people's intentions so that when you see an advertisement or a promotion or a poster or whatever, you go, that's the reaction that they want to um, plant in your psyche. That's what's so awful about what these think tanks and what these negative, nasty tabloid reporters are capable of. They appeal to the lowest of our primal instincts to try to turn everybody into the same monsters that they are. That's what you do with a fine education. You try to manipulate and hurt people. Neil Gardner, there is a very transparent attempt by the Sussex squad and other haters of the British monarchy to damn our royal family as racist, says Dan Wooten. Um, I don't think that takes much effort. They do a lot of that on their own. They don't need us to point it out to anyone. I'm not the one who started yelling colonizer when the queen died. That was coming from every corner of what used to be the empire. And then over here, Sussex team are full of hate for our elegant Princess of Wales. We're full of hate, Camilla Tominey. That's one of her articles. You see there? Condemn Meghan and uplift someone who doesn't even have a personality, let alone any thoughts of her own. That's not a modern woman you're elevating. That's a Stepford wife. That is someone who has been conditioned and worn down and brainwashed to the and mind you, that didn't just start with the royal family. I believe it started right there in the Middleton household. But that is what they wanted. That is the Middleton meal ticket right there. That's what Kate is the Middleton meal ticket. Why else would somebody move heaven and earth to try to get their daughter into that institution without even allowing her to live her own life? That was discouraged to the point where they took her out of one school and put her into another. And now the person that they were pushing her toward doesn't seem to want to be bothered with her. He doesn't seem to want to be interested in her. Makes you wonder if he ever was. That institution, Team Sussex, are full of hate. We're full of hate. We're full of hate. I mean, come on. We know this is Camilla Tominey is the one who made those accusations about the Hub Kitchen. And she's saying that we're full of hate. Her article is allegedly responsible for threats against those women who were just trying to cook food for their community. That was her article. Meghan made Kate cry. She weaponized a white woman's tears against a black woman in another country, away from the safety of her home state of California. She weaponized Kate's tears that were not even real in the first place. That story was false. Who dug up this hater dude needs to get their money back. Nobody dug him up. He burrowed his way into the earth and he dug himself right back out. A little weasel like that doesn't, nobody digs him up. He crawls out of a hole on his own. Thank you, B. Martin, and thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. Yeah, so I mean, what do you say to someone like a Camilla Tominey who is capable of so much hatred, so much negativity? What do you say to a person like that when they try to accuse you of being the one?
Hey, girl, sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Stars.
That's what you say to someone when they try to accuse you, when they try to turn it around on you, when they try to project their personality onto you. You have to tell them to sit down. That's what you have to do. Because time and time again, um, they prove themselves capable of one thing and one thing alone. And that is the fact that they are,
Bitter. And somebody needs to say it. Bitter. Bitter, bitter, bitter.
yeah, they're bitter. And then, of course, when I looked at that big, gigantic head, the first thing I thought of was Rush Limbaugh, a Rush Limbaugh wannabe. That's what he is. He's a Rush Limbaugh wannabe, a big, pompous, arrogant Rush Limbaugh wannabe. That's why I said people with those big heads are just angry. It's like they're mad at the world because they can never seem to find a hat that fits. That's the thing that I'm finding consistent is that those big head people, they're just mad at the world because no hat really fits. That's what he is, a Rush Limbaugh wannabe. It's amazing how you could see him on like a talk show, how they do the Zoom or Skype or whatever, and the person in the other frame is, kind of have normal dimensions, but his head fills up the whole box. I mean, the whole box is filled up with his head. And that's not a forehead, that's a morehead. That's a morehead. Because the more you look, the more you see. A morehead, not a forehead. Now, anyway, I'm ready to leave that behind. Let me cleanse my palate of those filthy, awful, nasty people. Okay. Um, Terry Wood, Harpo Productions. Terry Wood, Harpo Productions. Well, that is who Meghan was out with. Now, yesterday, I did share some images of Meghan. I'm not comfortable with the photos from last night. And then when I thought about it, the ones from the afternoon were not so great either, but the ones from last night, I don't know. I started feeling New York again, and I was just like, no, 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 no. Um, yeah, Megan needs to be able to go out and conduct business, and she's doing that. And it is L.A. And like I said yesterday, it's midday, Beverly Hills, lunch hour, and so when that's the case, you're going to get something like this to happen. And someone was like, "Oh, well, she was smiling, but it doesn't mean that she was comfortable, right?" And so yeah, that this makes me a bit uncomfortable. It was good to see her. It was nice to see the exchange and interaction and everything. The tabloid, I'm not tabloid, but the paparazzi people were very polite. You know that when she was in New York, the guy didn't know what to call her, so he referred to her as Madam Duchess, which I thought was, very, very polite. And I kind of think that the paps that are American born are not as cruel and mean spirited as some of those hoods from overseas, but I could be wrong. But I don't know. They just I wasn't getting that from them. Doesn't mean they're not capable of it. I mean, some of them may have very well been zipping up and down the street in New York, but there's a balance that has to be reached. Meghan has to conduct business. She can't do everything from her stately, palatial, opulent, picturesque Montecito mansion, even though it never leaks in Montecito. She can't do everything from there. So she has a right to go out and conduct business. And it is LA, and that's what comes with it. She didn't have children with her or anything like that. So there's some laws against that in California. But yeah, so yeah, the last night I wasn't comfortable with those. But yesterday afternoon, that was, it just felt very different. That felt very different. And it is a factor when you're in LA. It is a factor. If you were in the high end places, and this I think was like Beverly Hills or something like that, they're there. They're there. They sit on the street corners or whatever. They have like a sixth sense. They know where to go. Let's see. Lorna says, "I park outside that restaurant all day is popular with Hollywood celebrities, so Meghan was expecting it." Okay, I accept that. That's why I said it just felt very different in the afternoon. But at the nighttime, with the dark backdrop and that kind of surprise look from the flash, that one makes me very uncomfortable. But she did look great. And I'm not trying to be so pious that I'm going to pretend otherwise. I'm always glad to see anybody that I support or that I'm a fan of. I'm always glad to see them, and I hope I see them in the best light. And I like to see that they're going about their business, and I want to see what they're wearing, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to say anything other than that. It's just that, sometimes I don't feel so good about the source, but they have a job to do. The Paps, they have a job to do. And let's hope that, most of them are acting with integrity rather than, yelling obscenities to people, because that's what some of them do. They will yell obscenities just to draw a reaction. Thank you, Lottie. Let's take a look at yesterday, shall we? Let's take a look at that one.
How's it look, Meghan? You're looking amazing, Meghan.
Okay, so I did rather enjoy that. All right, so anyway, where were we? So we were talking about Terry Wood. I was trying to find something about her. Turns out she was one of the producers of The Me You Can't See. As a matter of fact, if you take a look there on the right, you can see executive producer Oprah Winfrey, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, Terry Wood, Catherine, what is that? Sy, Alexander Brown, and so on and so on. So those are the executive producers. And then, of course, Jen Isaacson was the producer. So seems like she's been working with Oprah Winfrey for some time. Right there, you can see inside the Japanese restaurant frequented by Meghan Markle, is it Joaquin Phoenix, and more stars. Oh, and let me see, what is that right there? Oh, that is the other things that that she's produced. Yeah, I think there's some other stuff she produced. Sydney, The Color of Care, Oprah and Viola, the Netflix special event, Adele, The Me You Can't See, Oprah with Meghan and Harry. Oh yeah, so she was one of the executive producers on the Oprah with Meghan and Harry primetime special. So yeah, it seems like that Meghan would have met her in the past, obviously, if she was one of the executive producers on their primetime special. And of course, Harry would likely know her from The Me You Can't See, as well as their interview. So there you go. She's worked with some people I like. And that is the restaurant. It is called what is it? Wait a minute. Asanobo Ansanobo. Anyway, it's a Japanese restaurant. Seems to be très populaire. That my attempted French. Oh, and if you're interested in the bag that she was carrying, there it is right there. She actually, I think she had that same bag when she went to, oh no, I think it was the shoes and maybe the bag when she went to the Trevi Cafe in Germany. I think I know for sure it was the shoes. The purse I'm not sure of, but it's a very cool bag. And it's the Goyard tote bag. The Goyard tote bag for only 2,425 pounds. That's about $3,000. I'm sure it's a quality bag. And knowing our Duchess, there's either a women-led company or established company and or sustainable. It's got to have that sustainable component. Asanabe. Anyway, that's it right there. Restaurant. That means oversleep. That's what it means. Oversleep in Japanese. Available. Okay. And and it's a Michelin. It's a Michelin restaurant. Cool. And it's in Studio City, California. So that's where it's located. Studio City. Yeah, so you're right. They would likely have paparazzi around there as well. We cannot live our lives in a cave. We have to come out and work and do things. And, and obviously Meghan is in a good place if she feels secure enough to be out and about like that. So Harry has hired some people to look after Meghan when he's not around, and obviously is someone he feels secure about. And you know what I always say, you got to trust Harry, trust the Sussexes. They know what's best. So yeah, there you go. Now, this guy right here, I meant to take a couple of more of those slides, photos and put it on the slide, but I did not. I like this guy. Now, this is a very sensitive time, I would say, because we don't know where the Princess of Wales is. We hope she's not, in peril, but this is not a slight to her, as you'll find out. But he is just saying how he feels. He's not choosing the side. He's not choosing a side. He's just expressing his feelings. So why am I trying to enunciate? I just want to make sure that it's clear. That's why I'm enunciating so clearly that he's not choosing a side. But that being said, he's not choosing a side. But that being said, he feels a certain way. So let's just
just another quick one and a reminder, you don't have to pick a side. You don't have to be Harry and Meghan or Kate and Wills. You can be in the middle like me. But I just wanted to pick up on this because I think it's a really important point. So did a bit of research just to validate this, and it's absolutely true. Catherine Kate, she's never had a national insurance number. Wikipedia confirms that she's 42 and she's never had a national insurance number. So what does that actually mean? It means that she's not actually ever worked. So no working behind a bar as a student to, help with her own costs, build a wider network of friends, get some education about how business works. No jobs post-university, again, building out a network, looking at a career ladder, increasing your social circle, gaining knowledge, just nothing. And I find that I've got to be honest, I find that pretty awful, but also I'm absolutely gobsmacked that's the situation, but it's true. And then just, although don't take sides, go over to look at, Meghan. Self-made, built a career, obviously has been on the screen in one of the most successful series of all time. Suits was, you can't dispute that. The stats show it. She's been an investor in other companies, including the coffee company, which was really smart by her and by them, because obviously the video that she was in brought kind of global attention to the brand. Even if she's only thrown in $10,000 for some shares and said, look, I'll do some PR for free. Smart move. Self-made woman. That's all I'm saying. So one of them has never worked. One of them's a self-made woman. What can I say? Have a good day, guys. See you later. Bye. Afternoon. Just another quick one and a reminder. You don't have to pick a side. You don't have to be Harry and Meghan or Kate and Wills. You can be in the middle like me. But I just wanted to pick up on this because I think it's a really important point. So did a bit of research just to validate this, and it's absolutely true. Catherine Kate, she's never had a national insurance number. Wikipedia confirms that she's 42 and she's never had a national insurance number. So what does that actually mean? It means that she's not actually ever worked. So no working behind a bar as a student to, help with her own costs, build a wider network of friends, get some education about how business works. No jobs post-university, again, building out a network, looking at a career ladder, increasing your social circle, gaining knowledge, just nothing. And I find that I've got to be honest, I find that pretty awful, but also I'm absolutely gobsmacked that's the situation, but it's true. And then just, although don't take sides, go over to look at, Meghan. Self-made, built a career, obviously has been on the screen in one of the most successful series of all time. Suits was, you can't dispute that. The stats show it. She's been an investor in other companies, including the coffee company, which was really smart by her and by them, because obviously the video that she was in brought kind of global attention to the brand. Even if she's only thrown in $10,000 for some shares and said, look, I'll do some PR for free. Smart move. Self-made woman. That's all I'm saying. So one of them has never worked. One of them's a self-made woman. What can I say? Have a good.
Yeah. I told you, you don't have to pick a side. It's not necessary to pick a side. But if one was to just gravitate toward the truth, then shine the light on the truth. Let the truth shine the way. So that's it. I'm not trying to be messy. But it's good to know that other people get it. That people that are not necessarily a squatty, not necessarily a fan of Meghan, They just know what they know. Never held a job. And wasn't it the Queen said several times, they kind of briefed against her. She needs to get a job before she gets married. She needs to have an identity of her own. The Queen was concerned about that. If it wasn't true, then the palace would have intervened and been like, don't speak for the Queen. But they never did that because it was true that the Queen was rather put off by that. The Queen found her lazy. So that's all. I'm just saying. And normally under these kind of circumstances, we would, reach out to Kensington Palace for comment. And so, just for the record, since we have discussed this before, let's reach out. Oh.
Well, obviously it'd be, I would love to have met her, and she's obviously she's an inspirational woman to look up to, obviously to this day, and going forward and things. It is, it's a wonderful family. The members who I've met have achieved a lot, and very inspirational. So yeah, I do.
And for the record, that's pretty much her answer to most questions. So, it don't matter. Okay, so moving on. Now, I do have another soundbite for you, and since I've already went and got my cup of coffee, I won't play this one twice. I won't play this one twice. Let me see here. VS, it's been 2 months. It has been Connie Balmer! Hey, Connie Balmer. It has been 2 months already. It's been 2 months. And I had to tell you, I'm kind of worried for her. I don't have any hate in my heart for anyone. And I am kind of worried for her. It's like this. No matter who it is, you would hate to believe that any person or any institution could just, essentially make you vanish. And because of the invisible contract, there's nothing to be said about it. Nothing to be said about it. That is rather bizarre. And the fact that more people are not, I could have prepared something for tonight and I just thought about it and I totally forgot. There was an occasion when they posted a photo of the Queen driving through the Windsor estate, the Windsor Great Park, I think it was. And so some months later, if not over a year later, that same identical photo was used when they claimed that the Queen was sighted driving through the estate. And at this point, the Queen was probably not well enough to drive herself. In my opinion, I don't think she was well enough to do that. But why would they pass off a stock photo and say that it was, or not even say, but infer that it was a recent photo? My point is that institution will lie. They will make up stuff. They will bear false witness if it serves them. Just like a statement from the two princes. They issue a statement that supposedly was agreed upon or even signed by both Harry and his brother, and Harry hasn't seen it, hadn't heard about it. It was news to him. He finds out just like everybody else. That has happened several times where they did not consult him. They didn't ask him his opinion. People say, oh, Harry wanted William, he told William, you know what? You should have this cursed sapphire and diamond ring. Give that to your future bride. Oh, no, I insist. Did he? Did Harry say that? Was Harry in on that decision? Or did he get the stuff that William didn't want? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? So they're not above lying about these things. Let me see. I remember them reusing a photo of the Queen. It was so obvious that it was being reused and wasn't new. They really are incompetent. Well, because they know they can get away with it. Some of it is incompetence, and some of it they just don't care. They don't care. There's no price to be paid if they do lie. When the Queen spent the night in the hospital that time, they didn't. They tried to say that the Queen was at home. They even flew the royal standard as though she was home, but she was not at home. And it took a couple days before the royal rota found out that she had actually stayed in the hospital. So they will lie. They will pretend. It doesn't have to necessarily be so. So this is why I'm saying I'm actually kind of worried for Kitty, because if they will do that for the small things, what do you think they're capable of for the big things? Here's a big lie. Here's a big lie. You want to hear another one? Charles took Harry to the rehab. Charles turned him into the rehab because he wanted him to learn the perils of drug use, only for Harry to point out that that was a lie, that they had made a royal visit together. They had toured that place together. And then later on, when it served Charles and his attempt to rebuild his reputation, then they made out like Harry was being brought kicking and screaming to the place, and that some ambulance, like in those old movies, you know how they put you in a straitjacket and drive you down to the hospital, and they give you a stick to bite on and start putting those shock therapy and stuff. They were trying to make it out like it was some old Joan Crawford movie, when the truth is Harry went down there on his own accord because Charles asked him to. It almost seems as though it was a setup, right? It was a setup. If Harry would have known that that's what they were going to do, he probably wouldn't have gone. But then later on, they used it to make Charles seem like this benevolent, pious, loving, doting father, and made Harry look like, like he had all kind of problems that did not exist. He was just a kid that experimented like other kids. So, yeah, they're not above lying. That's what I'm saying. They are not above lying. And so, considering that they will lie about the small things, like you see William drive toward the hospital, you never saw him get in or out. You never saw him walk in or walk out. You never saw any of that. There is no image of William entering that hospital. And I insist that if it was true that she was there, they would have milked it for everything. If she was there, they would have milked it for what it was worth. So if they will lie about the Queen not being in the hospital, or should I say, if they would deceive people and wouldn't let people know that the Queen was in the hospital, who's to say they wouldn't lie about Kate being in the hospital when she's actually not? It's just food for thought. Just food for thought. I don't think that anyone should ever trust that institution in such situations, because they have proven time and time again that they are capable and are willing to lie about certain things. We've seen it. But I still have those photos. I just didn't think to put them together. But it's like several photos that has been used on more than one occasion. And they said, oh, there was a sighting of the Queen. Now, they didn't put a caption for that photo saying that it was the Queen, but they said she was seen driving around the Sandringham estate. So who were they trying to convince that the Queen was not as ill as she actually was? At that point, I don't believe that the Queen was driving herself around anymore. So they make up stuff. Maybe they're giving her a full makeover. I think they're teaching her how to speak in public. In other words, it's like Pygmalion, right? It's like what's her name? Mrs. Doolittle. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Oh man. Huh. Well, you know what? Okay. Before I go on, I'm going to move this on very soon, but this has been on my mind. So, they kept saying there was going to be a big announcement in 2024. They were saying that that marriage was going to be ended in 2024. Now, I keep hearing this thing about you cannot divorce a consort. You cannot divorce the queen consort. If they were, if it, as alleged, if there was going to be a divorce, with everything that they've gone through with Camilla and Charles, right? With everything that they've gone through, would they risk the royal family's reputation or even the future existence of the royal family by having another divorce by another Prince of Wales? Now, if someone is unhappy, they're unhappy. And if they don't see you as part of their future, then it just won't work out. But then I have to think about when Trump went to Washington, that mail order bride of his, she did not go to Washington right away. She actually stayed in New York at the taxpayers' expense for tens of thousands of dollars a day. And I mean to tell you, she ran up a tab for the sake of posturing. They said she was trying to get a new prenup. She was renegotiating her prenup. In other words, if you want me to come to Washington and you want me to play first lady, we need to figure out some things where my future is concerned and where my son's future is concerned. But for you, those of you that don't live in the United States, and maybe a few of you that do, every home that is used by a president has its own Secret Service outpost. You know, just like the Met Police or Royal Protection Officers built a outpost at Camilla's private home. Even though she's married to Charles, she maintains a private home. They have a command post on her property, and they are likely paying a lease for that space or building or both. It's the same thing with a current president and a former president. They are leasing space at Trump Tower, security outposts for the Trumps whenever they're at that property or whenever they're in Mar-a-Lago or whatever their homes are. If you have more than one home, you have more than one outpost. There's no limit. So even the Clintons, the Secret Service is leasing a plot of land on their property to protect them. If you've been president, that comes with it. If you are president, that comes with it. And so it'll stay that way. And so she actually stayed in New York City, and for tens of thousands of dollars a day, if not hundreds of thousands a week, they maintained a high security presence at the Trump Tower, because wherever they go, the security bubble goes with them. And so I think it was rather selfish for her to do that, but that comes with the job. So you can't say anything because that's part of being in the first family. But she did not go to Washington until school let out. She said she was staying until her son had finished that semester of school. Then she went to Washington so she can run up some more tabs at our expense. So, yeah. And don't forget her parents. I'm pretty sure they were protected. It's a whole infrastructure. That's why when they say it costs 345 million pounds a year to protect the royal family, believe that number. Believe that number. 100 and what, 20 million pounds? That's not enough. They don't give you the cost of security, because they say if they do, that compromises the security of the royal family. That's their excuse. At least until, let's see, Tish James owns it. Hope she evicts. You're talking about the Trump Tower. YM Droid, you're talking about the Trump Tower? Because, yeah, Trump may have to liquidate some assets to satisfy his debt to the, state of New York? Yeah. So $350 million is what the feds are asking for, or demanding, if you will. I think it was 350 million. But yeah, it's an extraordinary cost to protect heads of states, their families, and in some cases, extended families. They do an assessment, and don't forget, the Secret Service also has to protect the Speaker of the House and the various leaders of various committees and such. Don't forget the federal marshals that protect the Supreme Court justices. It's a lot. We don't usually talk about it in the US because it would make most people queasy to know what the actual cost is. But I'm going to just go out on a limb and say it's billions of dollars a year protecting principles. So it's not hard for me to believe that they spend that much money on the royal family. So thank you so much, YM Joy, and thank you for being a member. And thank you, Deborah Anderson. Good commentary, Baron. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. Okay. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to play this soundbite. I got a little bit carried away on that one, but just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that, because while they're talking about Harry and Meghan, there are so many things that people are not paying attention to, are not noticing, because they are using the Sussexes to pretty much get away with the worst. All right. So this has a few parts to it. I don't think I'm going to play more than just one of them, but let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes.
A lot of people say, well, is it like the Paralympic Games? But it isn't. It's different. Tell us what we can expect.
It's different in that the people who are participating are actually wounded, ill, or injured veterans or active service members. And they are people that come from all over the world, 25 nations. Every person that comes, every competitor brings 2 family and friends, because they're all on this journey of recovery. Mm-hmm. And it's the families that come along and support. So yes, there are sport, and the sport's going to be fabulous, but it's not elite sport like Paralympic. It's sport where people start to overcome their impact, their ability, whether it's a physical injury or an invisible injury. and then the community comes around them. So it may be, which I saw in Dusseldorf last year at the 23 games, that the person that got the most cheers in the pool was actually the one that took 8 minutes
Love
to get
that.
25 meters
Love it.
versus the one that did it in 10.
Yeah.
Robin, I watched Heart of Invictus on Netflix. Highly recommend that everyone in Canada watch this 5-part series on Netflix, because you think you know Invictus, because I kind of thought I knew. I did not know.
No.
Speak to, if you will, what you've already learned around these games, and then sort of how we hope to expand upon that, having winter sports here and showing off Canada.
There's so much that we get to do with Invictus, but I think for me, one of the things that's most powerful is the purpose, right? My grandfather was in the Navy. I've always had this connection with military. I've had the opportunity in my career to do things that celebrate the military, but now I get to do something that gives back. And we're pulling a team of people together that have games experience or don't have games experience, but have the opportunity to serve those that are serving for us. And it's incredible.
What I love about it is that it's not just athletes and it's not just organizers. You have a whole family of people who have volunteered and have, just as we heard with Mark, once you're in, and you're sort of pulled into the world of Invictus for many years going forward. A lot of people say.
So there you go. So they are, speaking of Invictus, obviously this is not a round table in the UK from one of the tabloids. I don't think you could ever get a conversation out of, say, GB News or quite a few, even if it's BBC. I doubt if you can get straightforward commentary like that without some type of little snarky statement or other, or mentioning that they step back and all that kind of stuff. It's good to see that Harry's efforts are being appreciated for what he's conceived of, what he has managed to put together. Harry had to make a proposal to get Invictus off the ground. Yes, he did take some money from that pool of money that belonged to him and his brother, but we all know who the real fundraiser was and who was the one that actually did the thinking. The other one was just along for the ride. And so Harry's like, look, the money is just sitting there. And of course, he didn't say anything to Willie Leaks because he would have poured salt all over it. And so then, of course, he didn't have all of the money. So he had to, pitch to companies to kick in. And that's why Boeing is there for the second time around. And don't forget, they had a deal with Range Rover. And and other agencies. So it takes a lot to pull that off. And I mean, who's a better person to do a presentation of such a thing than Harry, who's so passionate? How do you say no? How do you not see the same vision that he's
Say,
the things that struck me so much. So in BC, we have this incredible volunteer spirit. We did the 2010 games. People still have their blue jackets and they're still so proud of what they've done. We know that we're going to have volunteers, but what we didn't know is with Invictus, there are hundreds of volunteers that travel from one games to the other because they get roped into this community and they just want to serve it.
At their own expense.
At their own expense.
Yeah, that's a really important part of this, because one of the things that I learned at the event, the launch event, which was fantastic, by the way, got all caught up in the partnership with the First Nations peoples, the fact that this is going to be an injection of funds that builds this community here, will leave money behind, unlike some other large events that
like for instance the Olympics. A lot of times the Olympics leave a bunch of aging infrastructure that is never used again. I mean, it's a very big thing. And it takes a lot of money to pull it off. And mostly they leave the cities or the countries where the Olympic takes place, unless it's a very wealthy industrialized country or a city that can absorb the costs, then they usually take the hit really bad. So anyway, let me continue with that one.
cost a whole lot of money and then also cost more after the fact. Invictus is a very different model in that it's an org.
Yeah, it really is. We are an organizing committee, and we are so honored to have founding partners in the federal government and the provincial government who both put in a substantial amount of money from Veterans Affairs and from sport tourism in BC, right? So those parties are looking for, how do we ensure that there's legacy back to our members and our community groups? We are so thrilled to have presenting partners like ATCO and Boeing, Tech, London Drugs, Corporate Canada have come alongside and said, we want to have an opportunity. We want for our employees to be able to volunteer. We want to showcase that we support the military in different ways. You know, the Canucks have been incredible partners. They invited the Duke to come and drop the puck.
Yeah, and that's how we surprised everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Can we talk about Prince Harry for a second? Because I know the athletes are the stars, but here is someone who is known around the world, and his wife Meghan as well. What did they bring to it? How much of the heart of Invictus is built kind of around Harry's vision?
It's Harry's heart.
Yeah.
The heart of Invictus is the Duke's heart. And I got to see that. I mean, I didn't know what to expect when I came into this. I was really excited about the job.
Yeah.
But the things that struck.
Okay, so the last person that spoke was the one wearing the dark jacket there, and the other one with the stripes. She was the other person that was doing most of the talking. Val Rich, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. And Sherry Melicon, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Friday or Saturday morning to you both. So there's another part to that. And since we've come that far.
The job, but I didn't know where the Duke would be and where he would play. I didn't know the patron. What we got to experience. So in November, in that secret surprise experience, he came out and he wanted to sit with my team and go through every operating plan. We tromped him through all of the mountains, all of the venues, and he sat down and he just talked to us about his vision, how the most important thing we do is the competitor and are the family and friends. And in Canada, he is so concerned about how we link the Indigenous connection.
Nice.
Because this was the first time ever that an organizing federation, so the Invictus Games Foundation internationally, actually said at the welcome and with the support of the 4 host nations on whose these lands will be operated, that was the invitation for the Duke to come and invite the games here. So they've been connected in since the very beginning. Lillooet, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh. Each of the chiefs had been involved there on our board. We had artists from each of the nations collaborate together on what that visual identity would be. And what they all see is that there's such a link between the recovery and the reconciliation that needs to happen in each of these communities, that there's common language being spoken.
Yeah.
And that's where that connection comes from.
You just gave me a full body.
It's super beautiful.
Seriously,
Because
it's great.
Invictus means unconquered.
Yeah.
And in watching it and learning about it and seeing Harry hands-on as a veteran and somebody who is very openly talking about his post-traumatic stress that he suffered at the loss of his mother and not being able to really address that. And Invictus, it seems like it's post-traumatic growth.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Doesn't it just...
Yes, I love that. I like that framing because the people that I had the chance to meet last week when we were, where Mark was talking about the camp and he was in the Nordic venue, I had a chance to meet 60 people from the Invictus movement. We invited every country to come and bring one participant, one manager, and one coach to learn how to build a winter program. Some of these programs in these countries don't have snow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. When Harry created the games, Will and Kate were in leave or on leave. Harry had to go to Foundation to get money. Will did not want Harry to start it. Harry separated the foundation and had the money he raised to Invictus Fund. So yeah, absolutely. And that was how he was able to be successful, is completely cutting Willie leaks out of it. Because William never finishes anything he starts anyway. He's more of an obstructionist than, a completer. So you don't want him involved in something, because his idea of organizing something is giving the courtiers the opportunity to do everything, and all he do is show up. He doesn't read, he doesn't study, he doesn't care. So anyway, one of the things that I have been wanting to do, and I didn't get around to it, was I'd found an article from one of the uh, newspapers or news agencies from Canada, and it's about the four First Nations that Harry got in touch with. See, Harry was very respectful to the First Nations. When Will and Kate went there, if I'm correct, I believe that they didn't want to meet with them because they thought they were full of crap. Because they did not. You know how when they went on the Caribbean tour and they did not um, ask the people in God, what country was that? Belize. They did not reach out to the indigenous people in Belize, and they told them to go home, that they didn't want them there. They wanted to land the helicopter on ancestral land, their soccer field or whatever they were using it for, did not ask any permission, did not group them into the planning. They only appealed to other people in the government, but no one from that community, and they were very resentful. But Harry has been talking to the people in the first four nations for a couple years now. He's been talking to them. And he went up there when he went to drop that puck. When he dropped that puck, he wasn't just there for that. He was doing the groundwork, not leaving it to other people. He was doing the groundwork himself. Brian, why is everyone, British media, trying to separate the prince from Invictus? It is his. He did the work and he is doing the thing with it. Love it. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, B. Martin. And they have been doing that because they know that this is very, very powerful. That the whole Invictus is an incredible success. And they would love to take it over for themselves. They try to do everything they can to separate Harry from the Invictus as if that's possible. But they're itching to do that because this is something that he will be remembered for. I don't know that anybody's ever going to look back at Earth Flop or any of that other crap, the 5 years or 4 years, whatever that thing is that person was doing. None of that. Those are vanity projects. This is real. This is real. And especially in the U.S., if one person in a family serves, everybody serves. We have military families. We don't have people in the military only. We have military families. And that is one of the reasons why Harry gets so much support in the U.S., because there is a certain code when you are a veteran, when you are in the military, that's a brother and sisterhood that is, not vulnerable to all of those petty things that you see in the tabloid media. They don't care about that stuff. Did you serve? Are you serving? That's all they want to know. They don't care about that other stuff. If you serve or you have served, then you're one of us. If not, then you're just not. You don't have a right to tear down someone, especially when they're trying to uplift other people in the community. It just doesn't fly. It just doesn't fly. But they keep trying. They keep trying in vain. But anyway, let me find that. And I was going to post this later anyway, but I'll share it with you now. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle visited the traditional territory of Lil Wat Nation this week as part of their trip to British Columbia. and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex spent time meeting with members of the nation in Mount Curry. On February 15th, Prince Harry previously met with Lil Wat Nation Chief Dean Nelson in November 2023 and was invited to visit the Lil Wat and speak with Chief Gelpkau, the cultural chief, and other counselors. Harry took part in a wheelchair basketball game with local youth during his visit, with Nelson even joining in on the court. Nelson told Peake the visit was positive and sincere. He dropped by the community, he said. We had a lot of fun with the youth and our leadership. Nelson said he also had a chance to chat with the royal about positive steps towards truth and reconciliation. We did have a chance to chat about that stuff. That was the reason he was there, Nelson said. Our initial visit was a few months ago when he first came round. He has been very sincere and down to earth. He was inquiring about how things are. Nelson said they also discussed the problems the Lil Wat are still facing since the creation of Indian Act. It's still grassroots stuff, he said. He was concerned about the long term. He asked what was still affecting us. I said the Indian Act and reservation are still here. That needs to be taken into consideration. Prince Harry will likely visit the Lil Wat Nation again in the future. We will have a conversation, said Nelson. He has shown an interest and has made a few excursions. The pair agreed to disagree when it came to the score of the basketball game. We called it a draw, said Nelson. I didn't realize my team was cheating, as we had 6 players and they had 5. The prince was on the red team and I was on the blue. Chief Nelson will join the royals again at a banquet in Vancouver on February 16th as part of the Invictus Games 1 year out celebrations. During their visit, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex received a traditional welcome and were presented symbolic gifts for their family. These gifts included a traditional basket and a hand-carved cedar art piece symbolizing strength. In a statement on their website, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex said visiting Lil Wat Nation was an honor. The couple were humbled to be invited and extend their deepest gratitude to Chief Nelson, Chief Gelpkau, and the people of the Lil Wat Nation for their generous hospitality and kindness, they wrote. Lenny Martin Andrew is the son of former Lil Wat Nation Chief Leonard Andrew. He said today's visit made waves within the community. The prince showing up for me is a statement. It got everyone's attention, he said. He also went to our culture center in Whistler yesterday. Andrew felt the royals showed respect to the nation and its people. When we go into other people's territory, we show respect, he said. He followed protocol. Okay, so there you go. So that's what I'm saying is that Harry has paid proper respect to the First Nation people, or as they used to say, the indigenous people, the native people. He showed them proper respect, and they, gave him respect in return. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. Charles doesn't have that problem because he knows what to do. But I don't think that anyone can get through to the other two. They're not going to do that groundwork. They leave it to other people, and that leaves them with egg on their face every time. Not sometime, but every time. So I'm going to show you. This is what I was looking for. This was what they said in Belize, because they didn't feel respected. They didn't ask permission. They did not get any opinions. They definitely weren't bringing anything. So they went in front of the cameras. Prince William, leave our land. This is our land. Leave our land. Just because someone in the federal government says, oh, yeah, do whatever you want, it's not okay with other people. So that shows you the difference night and day between the two of them. And this is why Harry is so beloved on the global stage, because he does the groundwork. And that is the symbol that they're using for the Invictus game. There were artists from all 4 of the First Nations that came up with that design. Right here, you can see Meghan Markle, Prince Harry joined First Nation children for a wheelchair basketball game, which is what they spoke about in the video. The couple, let's see, at the bottom it says, the couple recognized the significance of the First Nation communities welcoming the Invictus game onto their sacred land and are thankful for the warmth and hospitality. The statement added, Master Carver and canoe maker Ray Natraoro told the North Shore News, we wanted to represent our territory where we came from. So there you go. Yes, cultural sensitivity. Thank you. Cultural sensitivity. So there they are there. And then, of course, oh man, I cut that off, didn't I? I trimmed it. Should be more to it there. But anyway, that was the evening that they had at the Cultural Center there. And this is the 4 symbols that make up the one symbol. You can see how it incorporates all 4 of them into one. So, and there's the symbols of the 4 nations right there. We are proud to unveil the visual identity for the Invictus Games Vancouver Whistler 2025, presented by ATCO, which was designed and created by 4 of British Columbia's leading Indigenous artists. So that's their design. That's what they come up with. It's culturally significant to them, and that's all that matters. And I want to take you back to Dusseldorf. Do you guys remember the canoe? Remember the canoe? Well, of course, it's not a real canoe, but in order to prepare people for Canada, they gave them that, I guess it's a blanket, and that was a way to share community, I suppose. But you would take a photo behind the canoe and with the blanket, and of course, that is, gosh, I hope I say her name right. Is it Talia? Talia? Of course, that's the Ukrainian veteran. But anyway, yeah, so they were part of the Dusseldorf, well, not part of the games, but part of the ceremonial parts of the Dusseldorf. They were part of that. So they have been in with Invictus long before, they would have been in with them long before the games actually take place. So you see how they're being included in every step of the way. And there's Meghan hugging one of the chiefs, and you can see he has one of those blankets. God, I want one of those blankets. I love that. I bet you that it feels amazing. But yeah, so there you go. And take a look here. Oh, was this the end? I think I'm at the end. Yes, you guys, I am done after this. Oh yeah, that was it. That was it. So I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so just wanted to share that information about what Harry has done before the Invictus Games and how he has communicated with the 4 nations. And this is why things are going to go incredibly well for Invictus 2025. So anyway, I'm almost done, you guys. But I was going to close with this. Where is she? It's been 2 months. I just wanted to close with that. It's been 2 months. That's it. I have nothing else to add. It's been 2 months. So glean from that whatever you may, but it's been 2 months and very little has been said. No progress report. They've only mentioned movement, and it's okay. Nobody is advocating or fighting for her well-being in the tabloid media that is supposed to love her so much. And that speaks volumes for whatever situation that she may be in right now. So glad that Meghan got the hell out of there. So glad that Meghan got the hell out of there. That is what the future would have held for her. So with that, you guys, I am going to call it a night. Thank you all so much. Let me see here. Oh, you know what? There was one more part with those ladies. And since we didn't, it's probably 2 minutes long. So why don't I find that last part with those ladies that were sitting at the table? No, that's not a lady. Let me find that. That I didn't mean to say that, but anyway. It's a woman. It's a woman, but I'm not in a generous mood with her right now. Oh, this is only a minute long.
Some of these programs in these countries don't have snow.
Yeah.
They're like, what is happening? But we taught them how to do that. And you would have been amazed because there are competitors that, Sergey from Ukraine was missing an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And he is an advocate for accessibility. And in Ukraine right now, the amount of impact that's happening is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And Sergey has the opportunity to now bring back how to teach winter sport. He went in an adaptive chair with the partnership of Whistler Adaptive, the most incredible skiing coaches you've ever met in your life, and Whistler Blackcomb. And they took him from not knowing to skiing down the top of Whistler all the way.
Well, we saw Harry go down the luge, I think.
Skeleton. Oh yeah.
That would do that.
Head first. It's even more exciting.
I'm sure his security people were feeling good
Yeah,
about
no,
that.
they weren't super
They
happy.
did a helmet.
And he did it twice.
Of
'Cause
course
he's
he would,
in.
because
Yeah.
he's Harry.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Totally going to take it in.
You
Maybe
are
I'll
invited.
volunteer.
We're
I'm
going.
getting involved because I think it's super awesome. It was really great to meet you.
Thank you.
Have
So
fun
nice
in
to
the
be here.
next
Thank you.
Wow, what a difference it makes when there's positivity about something as great as the Invictus Games without a bunch of shade and snark and all of that cheeky stuff. Like even the Today Show can't just tell the story. They have to throw some shade in there with it, right? That what's his name? Craig Melbourne, whatever his name is. And I cannot stand those people on the Today Show. So anyway, anyone with the last word for the day? Anyone with the last word of the day, leave something in the chat that brings us all together. Something that allows for a certain fellowship. I'll wait. Let's go ahead and throw it in the chat. Something, a blessing, a prayer, whatever. Anyone? Be kind, do good. I like that. Be kind, do good. Melina Lucia, thank you so much for being here from Africa. Thank you so much. All right. Well, that's good. Stevie Rose says, be kind and do good. I like it. All right. So anyway, that's it then. Thank you very much. And thank you, moderators, for keeping this a safe space. And also, thank you, everyone, for your very thoughtful and kind and also very generous contributions to Royal Sussex. Blue Draws, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for being here. Also, thank you, B. Martin, Sherry Melicon, Val Rich, Deborah Anderson, YM Droid, B. Martin, and Legs, and Elaine Parker. Thank you all very much. Oh, there we go. Elaine Parker. Okay. All right. So when you see our queens, it's time to go. You know what I mean? So where are our queens? There we go. Queen Doria. There we go. Queen Doria. And of course, the people's princess, the Queen of Hearts, Princess Diana. And we're good. Good night to you, Terry H. All right. So cue the Ginger Avenger, and I will see you all tomorrow. Oh, wait. What am I doing here? Oh, no, not that. There we go. Huh?